ce phénomène qui permet de focaliser son esprit sur une chose quelle qu'elle soit.
The attention deficit is a symptom that you cannot actually, one cannot actually pay proper attention to certain substance by giving enough attention to the issue on presence, right? That's really the issue.
La liste distingue cependant deux types d'attention. Le premier est l'attention inconsciente, un processus automatique et constamment en action qui nous permet de réagir instantanément aux stimuli de notre environnement.
It could actually be divided into two different situations. Number one is constant conscious attention deficit. So that means, your highly activated consciousness, which actually, tickles up your attention to be influenced by any different external situation, as if this person affected by the consciousness attention deficit could no longer hold one's attention to be numb to any different external sources by overreacting to all different features coming from all different angles. For instance, if there's a seagull flying right in front of your eyes, you can never actually contain that. You can never pass that. You're constantly being distracted or even absent-minded because of this type of external forces pressing on you. This is the first one. Consciousness, attention deficit. The first one. Second one, what is that?
Grâce à lui, nous prenons environ 6000 décisions par jour de façon inconsciente, comme le fait le sang.
So because of that, we have, almost like 6 mil, per day. There is a really kind of reachable and statistically proven cases for attention deficit of our consciousness, almost, per day.
Tire par une porte et non par la fenêtre, ou de regarder avant de traverser un carrefour.
Because of this type of attention deficit, that would actually, literally keep your, consciousness away from what's been needed. So they're likely to be, encountered by certain type of reaction that would actually put your attention away from what should be noticed. For instance, you actually cross your line, or you actually leave your house without closing the door, or you actually, left your window open, or you even actually cross the crosswalk when the red light is on, because you actually, could not sustain the emergence of so many different ideas triggered by all different factors that would actually claim your attention. So you fail to pay attention to what matters most. What type of a light is on when you cross the road? The traffic light tells you what to do, but you could not actually gather your thoughts together to look into the light. You cannot actually, have this idea. By actually, closing the door, you didn't thought about that, because at the last moment there is a tiny dog barking at you, so you somehow lost track of your idea, so you left the house open. You left the house with the door opened. That's really the case. You locked out of the door. You locked out of the door. You stepped out of the door. I mean, this would be so popular. You actually left the door open, or you actually close yourself out of the door. You actually close yourself out of the door means you left the door locked up. You actually locked yourself. You locked yourself without bringing key into it, like this. Because you've been actually so absent-minded. Tell the truth that you are actually you're conscious. If there is any kind of conscious, if there is such a thing as you're conscious, you've been actually torn into a million different pieces. Think about it. There was any tiny moment, you had just feel a tiny itchiness underneath your skin, and you just really wanted to scratch it. This, constant, endless flow of a new idea immediately steals your attention from something what matters most. For instance, there should be fire. You actually turned on the gas burner, but you forgot about it. Because there are so many different things that have been constantly dragging and magnetizing your attention, as if you've been actually schizophrenic type of difficulty to stifle your inner thinking, then this would be the case. For that reason, they're almost like 6,000 means 6,000 different types of new ideas are coming into it that would challenge your mindset.
Attention est conscient, et donc plus lent. Il nous permet de nous concentrer sur un objectif déterminé. Or, contrairement à une idée reçue, cette attention ne relève pas d'une simple question de volonté. Ses fondements sont neurobiologiques avant même d'être psychologiques. C'est en premier lieu une question d'hormones, comme la fameuse dopamine sécrétée dans le cerveau et qui permet de hiérarchiser les informations. Tout dysfonctionnement hormonal peut donc entraîner des troubles de l'attention. Et ces troubles ne sont pas rares. 4 à 6% des enfants dans le monde en sont affectés.
Okay. The second one has a less affected by your own volition. The second type of attention deficit would likely to be conducted by the chemical reaction in the name of neurotransmitter. Because many of the different children who've been actually struggling with the attention deficit to learn something, when it comes to not just actually paying attention to something or being mindful of a certain phenomenon around you, but this case is more about learning something. You cannot actually put your thought into a certain issue by concentrating on a certain material that should be mastered. You cannot actually, put your mind to this idea. This is really the second type of attention deficit. In this case, this has a lot to do with your own volition and the will. That means that this does not reflect your willingness to concentrate on something or not, because this has more to do with the neurotransmitter called dopamine. Whether your dopamines are being released to actually make you handle the certain cases by undertaking the issue, or whether you would be distracted, this would actually be immediately decided by a specified chemical substance called dopamine. Worldwide, there are 4 to 6% of the entire children in the world community who are at this moment struggling with the attention deficit disorder in the academic form. They can never actually gather their thoughts and put their minds to a certain issue to be mastered or to be learned by actually, thinking about a certain issue with constancy, with composure and tranquility. This type of attention is really frustrating because one can never actually sit down and learn something by actually, maintaining a calmness and composure to understand a certain issue, but likely to be completely frustrated with impotence to work up your mind to learn something. Think about it. This would actually be more likely to be a field of neuroscientists, because this sector is somewhat less associated with behaviorism, because the neuroscience and the neurophysiology would be the sector that can actually offer a solution to this problem. Because, many different distracted children who can never actually sit down at the table or at the desk to actually be instructed on certain issues, they're likely to have this second type of attention deficit, which can actually drag them down to learn any new issue. They cannot actually control their thoughts because they are likely to have a difficulty in terms of digesting or undertaking or uptaking a certain issue brought by their teachers or instructors. Because if you are slow on the uptake, maybe your neurotransmitter called dopamine would never be secreted or even released into your system, which actually causes enormous hamper in your uptaking. This could be possible. It's more like neuroscience and neurophysics works. So you'd better actually be consulted by your doctor, but they would normally actually give us certain products like Ritalin or something like that, right? I don't know. But, at least it has been actually broken into 2 different divisions when it comes to the attention deficit disorder. Number 1 is a more like hyperactive disorder. You've been actually, literally torn into a million pieces because of the constant desires robbing you of a proper attention. Because you cannot actually focus on one thing, you cannot actually react to certain issue by forgetting about certain things, because there are certain things that would immediately claim your attention, so you kind of forgot about what was there just a short moments ago. This is number 1. Number 2, you as a student cannot actually study certain things because you cannot actually, exert your concentration power by remaining very attentive to lecture substances delivered by instructors. This type of short span of attention normally would be challenging because you actually, had no willpower to understanding. No, that's not really the case. It's really kind of out of your range, because your brain should actually, secrete the substance to get yourself powered up and fueled up in terms of, properly undertaking the substance delivered by your professors or teachers. For that reason, it would be better to be helped by professional neuroscientists or psychiatrists who can actually prescribe a medicine to change the balance in neurotransmitter secretion, okay? And worldwide, according to the estimation released by the Future magazine, 4 to 6% of the world children, 4 à 6, are likely to be in the case of this attention deficit.